So that's not including the adults that were killed or, those over there, but just those that were under 18, 46 this year. It is alarming.
It is more than alarming. It's horrifying, and it doesn't sound like something that would be present in what we call if you would, a civilized society. And yet, it's still, this is not a new issue. It's a repetitive one that has been politicized, one that has been tossed to and fro, and almost as if people are pushing the blame, as if the fact that it's one party or another party's responsibility. And I contend that it's everyone's responsibility, but we must begin to do things and put in place not only laws, guidelines, and the consequences that is needed to help prevent these things.
Absolutely. I was having a discussion with a lady regarding the Georgia shooting, the latest one where the father was arrested, and we saw him in court, and we went toe to toe. She was like, well, he shouldn't be responsible for what his kid did, and children will do their own thing. And I disagree because of the fact that when you supply the gun for them,
Absolutely.
no, you didn't expect for him to go out and shoot the school, maybe not,
Right.
but the reasoning I say judgment is fair in this situation is because he was investigated last year because
Exactly.
he made a threat, and his parents knew about it because they were involved, because the FBI interviewed them too. And after that, you're going to buy an assault weapon like that for Christmas or birthday or something like that? You willingly bought a gun. Yes, you should be held accountable for that.
Well, especially considering the fact, that last year when the kid was 13 years old, and they actually lived in a neighboring county at the time, and there was every reason for suspicion, things that the kid had wrote, things that he had put on social media, and all these things there was red flags. Well, they were investigated, but unfortunately, how they came to a conclusion that he wasn't a threat, uh, they went on past that point, but yet it was the responsibility of the parent, knowing that this is something that has come up as a red flag. They relocate. They're in a neighboring county now at a brand new school, had been in school even a week, and at a brand new school, and he carries out this heinous act. Here's the problem, to your point. If you've already been warned about this, and you said that he had no access to weapons or whatever, and then you go out and buy him a weapon for a Christmas present, especially one in an AR-15 type of a mode, you've got to take some responsibility some type of way, because of the fact the kid wouldn't be with the gun if you had not provided it for them.
Absolutely, Dr. J. I think one of the things that's happening here in this dispensation of life we're living in, we're ever evolving from year to year and from state to state. Everything is different. People are governing and parenting their children different ways now, this new age way of parenting. And, I think their line needs to be drawn if you're going to be a parent or you're going to be a buddy, a friend. So if you want to be a buddy and chum to your underage child, there's ways to go about that. But
Exactly.
but catering to and giving to whatever thing they want to do that could be a threat to society is not the answer. And communication is very key. We have to communicate with our children. Back in the day, Dr. J, when we had family dinner, it was family dinner. We
Absolutely.
cooked, everybody sat to the table, and we
Exactly.
ate and we communicated about how was your day, what's going on with you, so everybody knew everything, or at least more than they know now. Right now,
Absolutely.
you're passing in the hallways, you don't even know that little bundle of joy you brought home has turned into be a monster, because
Exactly.
you're looking at them from, oh, that's my friend over there, he cool, and you're talking street talk with your child instead of parenting and governing and taking responsibility for their lives. Because as long as you are a minor, you're going to be responsible for that individual. It doesn't just stop just because, oh, they graduated high school. I graduated high school at 17, but I was
Right.
still considered, I was a minor. So there's situations that we're going to come up against where we need to be present, we need to be active, we need to be alert to find out what's going on in our homes, what's going on with our children, and be able to take responsibility from that capacity. You know, there's a lot of children that are being bullied. So we need to be proactive when it comes to bullying. When a child tells you this person is bothering me, your response and your answer shouldn't be, well, fight them back, do it. Well, that's what my parents told me. Well, if they hit you, you hit them back. Well, right now, you hitting back, and they're pulling out knives, they're pulling out guns, and their goal and what they're trying to do is actually kill you, take you out of here. So saying, hit them back is not what the answer is this dispensation we're living in. And when they say they're depressed and they're going through mental situations, oh, I'm feeling so unstable, don't just brush it off and say, well, get over it.
Exactly.
You
They
can't
need to
get
be
over
heard.
it because there's a lot encompassed with that depression that child is feeling. Like I talked about peer pressure, what's going on in school, what's going on in their personal lives. Do they have friends? Do they not have friends? What's the associations? What's your family dynamics like? There's so much that encompasses these children these days where they are mentally not sound.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And we have to be in the now. We have to be tentative. We have to be tentative, if you would, should I say, tentative of what's going on with our kids. We have to be in the now, recognizing the fact that we can't dismiss what they may be feeling. And so many times, one of the things that we do that is so terrible is that we try to explain away people's reality, explain away what they're feeling. What they're feeling is what they're feeling. A lot of time we're trying to absolve ourselves from any contribution that we may have with them feeling that way. And that's not where we ought to start. We're to start by acknowledging what they're feeling and then ask them how long they've been feeling that way and what has taken place to cause you to feel that way. And then, is there anything that I can do, inside of that? And then even if say, I don't know, that is still enough cause for you to try to find help. How can we help you in this situation? The problem that we have, Dr. Val, is that oftentimes what happens is the fact we think that if we dismiss them, in other words, it's almost like get out of my way, just get out of my way. As long as you're out of my way, then we're good. But you can be out of my way. The kid can be out of your way, but that doesn't mean that you're good, because the kid could be suffering through depression. They could be going through all kind of things, internalizing things, having suicidal ideation, may feel that they don't measure up, may feel as if they're outsider, may feel like they're not good enough, may feel like they can never please you. There's a number of things. And in this case here, there's some dysfunctionality within the family and everything, because they would definitely mom and dad being estranged from each other, and dad basically having the custody of him, at least during this time. So there were several layers and dynamics there that was going on in this kid's life. And even testimony from aunties and family members saying he wasn't right. Something was right. The kid needed help. The kid needed help. And sometimes getting help is not a matter of just disconnecting them from the other parent. It's really getting help.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think this society has taken so much for granted of having the community raise our children. We're not raising them in the house. We're letting the community dictate their lives. And then when they come inside our home, we wonder who this person is. Well, when you allow it to be, instead of you laying the foundation of encouraging them and motivating them and inspiring them to be the best person they can be, and talk about these issues that they're feeling, like you said, their emotions that shouldn't be dismissed. These are all these things that, bottled up in these young people. this day is so different because of the fact that we have social media.
Right.
I think that there should be, and well, there are age limits and restrictions as it
Mhm.
relates to social media, but the parents have allowed their children to be on there. Even you got 6 and 7 year old influencers.
Yeah.
You're an
And-
influencer. By the time you're 10, you're making millions of dollars because you're quote unquote an influencer. Influencer. So, we're allowing, the parents are breaking the law and allowing the children to be exposed, so they get exposed to bullying. They emotionally, because they have this little isolation component in their brains where all they do is this. They don't have no outside life, just like the gamers. That's all they do is game. They don't have no social life. You used to go out and be a part of a baseball or ballet or dance class or a Boy Scout, Girl Scouts. A lot of that's not happening now. They're gaming, they're online and doing things, and the parents know it, but they don't pay attention until a life is taken. They don't pay attention until attempted suicide. They don't pay attention until the child's life is torn apart. They don't pay attention until it's too late.
Yeah, and one of the things, and to your point, is this: is that one of the reasons they don't pay attention because having a child out of their way is convenient to them.
Hmm.
Having a child out of their way. Think about it. I remember at the turn of the century when we were coming out of the 90s into the 2000s, and I remember I was championing a piece talking about understanding children of the 21st century. And one of the things that was a big talk back then, everything that sociologists were saying was about the impact of the single parent home, the single parent home. And so it was as if the single parent home was the cause of everything that was negatively wrong in our society. But I remember having this whole, if you would, epiphany. And I remember citing said, it's not the single parent home, it's the other parent home. Who was I referring to? The other parent then was the emergence of computers, games, all these things that, in other words, took their attention. Parents found it very convenient to now say to the kid, go to your room, get on your computer, go to your room. So it became almost a babysitting, a distractor for them. Kids were left there with the third parent. Who was they spending time with? The third parent. The television shows, all kind of things that they could watch, oftentimes not being censored or not being monitored. And so now who's influencing them? The things that they see and the things that they heard. We've always said, and it's true to be true, from the moment your children begin to socialize and they are growing up, you and I, as parents, we lose more and more influence with their lives. That's why we have to establish this very early on in the foundational years. We have to establish our guidance, establish our ground rules, establishing that foundation. And when that's not established, we live what I call parenting on the go. Parenting on the go. We're on roller skates trying to parent, but we really have no foundation and really know who our children are, what they need. And then guess what? We see them doing these things and we can see them going off track, but we simply don't have an answer for it or answer to it because the fact we've been so preoccupied. So it behooves us today to, to be very cognizant in the moment with our children and to be in the moment with them. And this is not meant to be a blame, but it was Frederick Douglass who said that it is easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men. But nobody wants to take the opportunity or the time it takes to build.
Absolutely, Dr. J. You said so much in that statement you made. And, we're going to continue next week,
Absolutely.
guns, youth, and parents. And I like, who is the third parent?
Yeah. That
That
third
is a
parent.
powerful
Yeah,
statement because of the
exactly.
fact that we have, and it's so easy to do. I'm not dismissing those parents that are
Mhm.
working and trying to provide for the family, but are you working to the extent that when you come home into your home, your dwelling place, a place that's supposed to be of peace, and you have children there, is it really a place of peace? Because if you're not there present, you know so much responsibility and uh, guilt complexes have been thrown on men because they left the woman and the children were like, well, my dad wasn't in the home. My dad wasn't in the home. But what about mom and dad not being in the
Exactly.
home?
Exactly.
If you're both absent, then who is that third parent? As you say, it is the television,
It's a
it is their
computer.
friends.
It's
You know,
social media.
grandma used to be the one looking out and
Yeah,
making sure everything was what it needed to be. But the grandmas are so young now.
exactly. And then
Grandma's trying to get her life.
she's trying to reclaim her own life. She's trying to, Stella's trying to get her groove back because she realized that she's missed it in that. Well, she had a child in a very young age, and
Mhm.
so now she's trying to reclaim all that. And what we see now is that there's been a disconnect. In the late '80s and '90s, should I say, in the '90s, going into 2000, we talked about the latchkey kids, the kids who basically came home to no parent being there. And now what we're seeing is a result of those things that have come home to roost. But taking it back, particularly to this particular case in Georgia, you think about this. I know we all have our sense of things that we consider these touch points that are important to us. But I've had 5 children. I've never purchased any of them a gun.
Mm.
I'm not even a BB gun, not even a pellet gun. We stopped even using water guns. None of my younger kids ever had a water gun. We never purchased one. And the reason that we did, because we didn't even want them to have a semblance of practicing and seeing guns as being a normality. And yet it's still weird. This whole issue about gun violence becomes the center of a political division, because in fact, on one side, they're talking about you're trying to take away our Second Amendment right. Nobody's asking anybody take away your right to bear arms, but we talk about the right to bear arms responsible. What
Responsibly is the thing. And
exactly?
so many don't want to be responsible. And then when something happens, they're crumbling and like this kid's father, shaking and all nervous and scared. And because you didn't want to take responsibility and govern what went on in your house. And like I said, you knew that there was an issue going on or possible issue.
Yes,
Why at 13 would you give this child a gun? Why?
an AR-15. A
At
type
13,
of
in our homes to do that, there would be no discussion. We'd be in jail.
absolutely.
And not only that, when it came down to it, we would have been shot. That our kid would have been shot and killed. There would have been no put your gun down, come with us. No, you
Exactly.
would have been taken out. Pure and simple.
Exactly. And the thing about it, I can recall being young, and my dad. This is funny. This almost sounds crazy now. I remember there was 2 homes and there was 2 guns in our home. Uh, my mother had a 38 special that was her uncle's gun. He had served in the military. And my mother bought my father one year for Christmas a 22 long range rifle. Now, I think about it. My dad would try to teach us how to shoot a gun. When did he do it? Particularly, it was 4th of July. It was 4th of July and New Year's. He'd bring us out on the porch, and I was scared. I was scared to shoot a gun. I was scared to do so. The 38 had a little kick to it, right? Pow, right? And the 22 didn't have much of a kick to it. But when I think about a 38 and a 22 compared to what we're seeing out there, them being armed with today, it's like a cap gun. You're talking about AR-15. You're talking about all types of assault rifles and kids having. And when I hear people talking about the fact, oh, this is just for our protection and for hunting, I don't know too many people that go hunting with an AR-15, because you're
Let
definitely not
alone take it on the school campus and
exactly
have humans for target practice.
right. And then we have to examine what is it that has gone on in this kid's life that have made this kid feel like there's no other alternative, or I need to get back, of this vengeance of people. And it couldn't have been much of this kid. Like I said, this is a brand new school for this kid. He hadn't been in school any time. But this was the carryover from the behavior that he had just manifested and displayed just several months earlier, although he was at a different school in a different county. Now, the problem is this: no one ever addressed that issue. No one ever addressed the issue. It wasn't enough just to say, well, I don't think he's going to be a threat. We need to address, what brought him to this place. What brought him to the place that he would do this? And when we don't have those conversations, what we're doing is that we're just simply, we're like an ostrich. We're putting our head in the sand and we're ignoring what's really going on in our society.
Absolutely, Dr. J. And the other thing is that they've become so desensitized to death being a final thing. They're so used to watching these things on television and these gaming tools where
Exactly.
people are killed and they die, and then but they get back up and play another game. No, when you're dealing with real life, they don't get back up and come play
No.
another game. They're done. You don't think about the families that you destroyed because you wanted this person gone, and then you don't even know why you wanted this person gone. You just wanted to shoot, and didn't just disassociated with the fact that these are real people with real lives, and that is a
Yeah.
problem. That is a problem. That is a mental capacity that's affecting our young people, and well, adults too, because anytime you can go in your home and kill your wife or your girlfriend and the children,
Mhm.
newborns, and kill them because they made you mad, or I'm just tired of them, and then you just like, oh, are you dead? Or you get up, you already done it. They've desensitized themselves to the fact, and the reality is these are real life human beings. And the aftermath is so crucial till then they say, oh, wow, what have I done? And then they want to take their lives. And that's why suicide is so prevalent right now, too, as it relates to um, gun violence, because they utilize the gun. And then after a while, they realize, oh, what have I done? After they actually see the manifestation of the product they produced, what they did, then they want to take their lives. So, there are resources available for those that contemplating suicide. There's crisis lines, 988, dial 988 on your phone, and it will connect you. And then also, if you think you're dealing with mental health issues, you got a problem, you feel something's not right, and you can't go to a parent, you can't go to a sibling or a friend because you're isolated and you feel like you're alone, there is a mental health hotline, 1-800-273-TALK or 8255. There are resources available, but a lot of times people won't participate in their rescue.
And you're exactly right, Dr. Val. I just was in Atlanta this past weekend, Friday and Saturday and Sunday. I was there for a spirituality and mental health conference. And one of the things that was so powerful because we had the integration of both of spirituality and faith and mental health, understanding that they do coexist. And one of the things that we discovered while there, you know, the CEO of NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Health uh, of Mental Illness, was there, and they have come out even with, I won't even call it an app, but you have a phone, and most of us with our phone we're familiar with Siri, so you could actually say this to Siri: "Hey Siri, I'm not feeling so well today."
Right.
Well, that just brightened my whole day. Well, that's not what Siri said, but Siri will ask you, "How are you doing? Do you want me to get help? Should I contact the National Alliance of Mental Illness?" That is just how close help is at your fingertip if you're
Hmm.
feeling a certain way. The problem is that we have stigmatized having mental issues and mental illness. We've stigmatized it so much that people are afraid to ask for help. People are afraid to seek help. We've stigmatized it. We've made it as something is wrong with the person, meaning that something is wrong with them for even asking. The right question is not what's wrong with you, but what happened to you? What's happened? What has happened to you? We don't have to, we have to understand that at any given point in our personal life, we could all be out of balance in one way or another. You could have a stressful day and feel overwhelmed. We see people faint simply because of the fact they've been overexhausted. It is the same thing with becoming emotionally overwhelmed, those things there. We have to ask for help. Most of all, we have to be sensitive in the moment, in tune with what's going on around us. Notice people patterns. Notice if they're withdrawing. If they're a person who's very talkative and all of a sudden they're isolated, not talking, that ought to alarm you. We need to notice those patterns of behavior and understand this. Even if it's yourself, it's okay to not be okay, but it's also okay to be okay. And so we need to be able to combine both of those. When I'm not feeling okay, I should be free enough to say, "Hey, I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling myself, or I'm not feeling, I feel like something is off." Having those things there, and the thing about it, it is so important for us to be well, both spiritually and mentally and emotionally. And thank you so much, my dear friend Antoinette McLean, for her service and serving our country and all that. But she says something that is so important. We start counting mass shootings years ago with Columbine High School, and we saw what would become what it has become now. But think about all of this stuff have happened in the aftermath. We removed prayer out of schools, and guns and violence have entered.
Right. We took God out of the equation. I
Right.
mean, it's on our money. In God we trust, but
We
we've taken our trust out of the Lord. And, because He's the one that leads and guides to all truth. But so many people are blinded by darkness and
exactly.
consumed with darkness. And then, like I said, you allow your child or children to be raised by the world, and then that person is a stranger in your own house, and then you become afraid of them. There's so many parents, Dr. J, they're afraid of their children. They're
Yeah.
afraid to say anything, and if they don't get them what they want, they're afraid of them throwing a tantrum, and they don't want Johnny acting out, and so they're going to do whatever they can to appease him. Could this have been the problem in Georgia, where this father wanted to appease this young man?
To overcompensate. Overcompensate. Oftentimes, we find that when people are in custody battles, when they're trying to win the affection of the kid, or win the approval of the kid, or win the acceptance of the kid, or win, if you would, points with the kid, they overcompensate. They overcompensate. They give kids what they want, not what the kid needs. And that becomes a problem. We cannot we cannot afford to allow kids to become undisciplined. The thing about it, the lack of discipline leads to so many things wrong in our lives. And we have to
Mhm.
be willing to stand up, because discipline is going to be the key. Discipline with love. God even chasing those whom He loves.
Hmm. Absolutely, Dr. J. Well, we're about to wrap up, and so if this has been a blessing to you, and we are going to continue next week with guns, youth, parents, who's responsible, and then we're going to add on who is the third parent. And those of you that have found this show to be a blessing, make sure you support it. Dr. J's website is jrthicklin.com. He is available to come speak for your event that you may be planning to empower the youth. And I'm also available at from the soulofAwoman.com. You can reach out, and we have nonprofits that support the community. We're grassroots. Everything we have done in the last few years, we've had to do out of pocket because the resources have not been there. The support hasn't been there. But we think it not robbery to give you information to motivate and inspire you to keep holding on, and to be that best person, be that best parent, be that best friend, that co-worker that you can be. And make sure you tune in next week again for Hot Topic from the Soul. And don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.
Alrighty.